We always have to be making our personal growth work our highest priority. The goal is to meet the challenges from a heart-centered place, to meet the challenges from a solution-oriented mindset, to meet the challenges with our spiritual foundation backing us up so that we can let intuition show us where to go and what to do. Whatever the simple, subtle shifts that we take each day are, it doesn't matter. It's just that we commit to them. That's the message for you guys today, to not judge your spiritual practice, to not try to make it anything that it's not, to not try to force it into being different, but to just do whatever it takes to get closer to consciousness. Welcome back. Let's start today's show with a little card reading. This is from the Universe Has Your Back deck. It matched my shirt, so I just wore it. So I picked this one up. And here we go. You guys, I'm really happy to be with you. It's so nice to see everybody. Hello, welcome back. Okay, here we go. Yeah, there's our card. We got the owl. I needed the owl. My sign that I've been asking for is the owl. Here we go. I do whatever it takes to get closer to consciousness. Okay, let's riff on that. I do whatever it takes to get closer to consciousness. I do whatever it takes to get closer to consciousness. The owl is there. This is a story from The Universe Has Your Back that was really meaningful to me. I talk about this story in the book, The Universe Has Your Back, and it was a story of how I had done a live event for my friend Deepak Chopra. For 2 weeks, I spent at the Chopra Center in San Diego, and I just had the privilege of hanging out with Deepak and seeing him in the early hours, working out in the gym and, just hanging with him. And he and I had a meeting in his office one afternoon, and I said to him, this was like 6-7 years ago. It's been a while now, 7 years ago probably. And I said, Deepak, I'm having a bit of a hard time because I'm just feeling like I'm doing a lot of different spiritual practices. And is there something wrong with that? Is there something wrong with doing this style of yoga and then studying A Course in Miracles and practicing transcendental meditation and this and that? And I was giving him all of the practices that I was so moved by that were really influencing my work and my spiritual life. And he looked at me and he said, and this is my Deepak impression, do whatever it takes to get closer to consciousness. And that inspired a chapter in The Universe Has Your Back. It also inspired this card with the owl. I do whatever it takes to get closer to consciousness. And so that's the message for you guys today, to not judge your spiritual practice, to not try to make it anything that it's not, to not try to force it into being different, but to just do whatever it takes to get closer to consciousness. And that consciousness is the voice of love within you, the voice of forgiveness within you, the voice of compassion within you, the voice of inspiration within you, the voice of positivity, the voice that seeks solutions rather than problems. That consciousness is something that we cultivate as we grow as spiritual students. And I want to drive home that message today. Do whatever it takes to get closer to consciousness. Okay, so that's our card for today. I do whatever it takes to get closer to consciousness. Boom, boom, boom. And let's rock it. Let's bring in some new Dear Gabbies. Let's see who's ready to rock and roll with me today. You do whatever it takes to get closer to consciousness. When we're going through difficult times, which anyone watching right now is going through some form of discomfort. If some are more blown out than others, but everybody's traumatized, everybody's triggered, everybody's uncomfortable. And then some are worse. And so I don't want to in any way diminish what you're going through. So when we go through troubling times, that's when we need to rely on our spiritual condition most. That's when we need to do whatever it takes to get closer to consciousness. when I say that, what I mean is that we have to every single day lean into a spiritual solution. But that does not mean that we spiritually bypass our problems. It doesn't mean that we don't grieve. It doesn't mean that we don't feel. It doesn't mean that we run away from or avoid, because many of us watching, very spiritual students, can often sometimes use our spiritual practice as a way of going above the problem. And that's not the goal here. The goal is to meet the challenges from a heart-centered place, to meet the challenges from a solution-oriented mindset, to meet the challenges with our spiritual foundation backing us up so that we can let intuition show us where to go and what to do. So your main job is to do whatever it takes to get closer to consciousness. Then your worldly job, which I'm sure is in the service of lots of people and is doing beautiful work in the world, will be informed by that spiritual connection. So they say in the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, anything you put before your recovery, you will lose. So I often will say anything you put before your spiritual foundation, same thing, recovery, spirituality, whatever you want to call it, it's the same thing. Anything you put before that spiritual foundation, you will lose. So that it has to be, am I good with my God of my own understanding before I step out and make that action, before I make that call, before I try to deal with that problem? Am I good here? So do whatever it takes to get closer to consciousness. Well, let's just start by bringing it to a baseline, just mellow out the issue, right? With the truth that none of us really feel like ourself this year. The self that we used to know must be alchemized, must be transformed, must be recycled in a sense to become something new. We used to live in a way where we had a lot of structural things around us that kept us safe, that kept us in control, that kept us feeling like we could get out of those moments of discomfort faster, that we could numb out quicker, just, use different things to feel distracted. But that's all been taken away from us. And from a spiritual perspective, that's a gift, a big gift, because we are now left with having to face our internal condition, which can be super uncomfortable, which can be really terrifying, in fact. We're faced with, who am I without all the stuff? Who am I without the handbagger? Who am I without the job? Or who am I without the credentials? Or who am I without being able to, go to the gym every day and be around people, or whatever the story was that we had placed around ourselves. For me, who am I without my stage, right? You have your own. So who we are today without the things that we thought made us who we were is actually the closest to who we are that we've ever been. Therefore, the discomfort that you're feeling is totally acceptable and understandable because you've never been still enough to sit with you. That's terrifying. That's scary. That means we have to show up for the parts of ourselves that we maybe have been avoiding. We've had lots of beautiful protection mechanisms for not having to deal with those exiled parts that are now very triggered and coming up to the surface more than ever before. So the answer to you, my love, is to first and foremost be in the acceptance of what is, because sometimes when we resist the discomfort, we create more of it. What we resist will persist. Freud said that. So when we make the commitment to first and foremost be in acceptance of what is, not resist the experience, we can start to allow it to dissipate faster, to move out of the low faster, because we're not trying to push it away. Secondly, being okay, straight up being okay with the fact that you may not know who you are now, because the you now has to change, has to alchemize. Then being in daily conscious contact with whatever spiritual connection you have by saying specific prayers daily, saying, show me who I can be today. And I love the prayer of, what miracles would you have me perform today? Because when we allow the expression of love to move through us in whatever form we believe that to be true, inspiration, joy, creativity, whatever that is, that's when we are actually in the truth of who we are, because we're in alignment with God, with love, with the universe. So the message daily is, what miracles would you have me perform today? Show me how you would use me today, because you're, my love, trying to figure out how you should be using you. You got me? You're trying to figure out, how do I make myself feel like myself again? But the key here is to welcome the spiritual relationship of your own understanding to move through you and show you what you are here to bring forth. So bring it down and settle in. And then as it relates to the high lows and the low lows and the high highs, talk to a therapist about that 100%. There's no reason that you shouldn't seek counsel there. Okay? That's a thing. That's a thing that we can all face in our own ways. Okay? So don't just over spiritualize that. Take that to a therapist and work that out, or just inquire and engage in that conversation. And become open to who you can be now. Yeah, I think that we need to simplify things right now, right? It's sort of like when I was first I keep coming back to my sobriety today, but when I was first getting sober, they were like, listen, if you can get out of your bed, brush your teeth, and get to a meeting today, you are a success. So all of us are in this place of almost early recovery right now, or early sobriety, because we're actually being reborn. We're having to show up as new if we make the commitment to. So in that space, we have to be proud of ourselves if we've just done the best we could today. Keep it simple. The universe has your back is perfect for transforming the fear into faith. And then there's a practice in Super Attractor that I want you to use when you apply for your jobs. And it's called the spiritually aligned action method. So it does require action, but that action always is backed with spiritual alignment. Because any action that we take that's forceful or pushing or trying to make something happen will, as a result, be backed with negative energy or frantic energy or needy energy, and it won't be attractive, right? It won't attract. So the answer is yes, take action, but only when you are in spiritual alignment. So that doesn't mean you wait 5 years to get into spiritual alignment. It means that you can start to practice it now. So the way that we know that we're in spiritual alignment means we are feeling positive and hopeful, that we are in a spirit and service mindset of, how can I serve? We are in a faithful state, feeling, okay, whatever is of the highest good is coming to me, and we're patient. So that's the key ingredients for taking spiritually aligned action, is to make sure that those actions are aligned with service, love, faith, and patience. And when we take any action and send out a resume, make a phone call, go to an interview, from that place, we can be sure that it's going to have a greater impact than if we were frantically just applying to everything. What happens when you frantically apply to everything is you apply for things that you're not right for. You apply for things that you would never want to do, that would be really bad for you emotionally, spiritually. You get in the way of the manifestation. So when you're in spiritual alignment, you have the consciousness to say, whoa. I'm going to apply to 3 jobs rather than 5 today because those 3 jobs feel more aligned for me. You got that? But in no way does this mean you're not taking action. You are absolutely taking an action, but it's an action that's coming from a place of inspiration rather than a place of control. The spiritually aligned action method is broken down completely in Super Attractor, but that's a really good intro to what it is, okay? So I'm going to send you that audiobook. As soon as you reach out to my team, they're going to get it to you. Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about your consistency. You're such a great power of example for us today, my love. Our French spirit junkie here is such a great power of example. What you just said is, I've read this book twice. I've read this book twice. I've been practicing the meditation. I'm listening to Abraham. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. Then you bring it home by saying, yeah, it's all about consistency. Consistency is why I created my Miracle membership. Consistency is why I want to keep coming back with you guys each week. Consistency is what this is about, because I've always said it's not about being the most perfect spiritual student. It's about just showing up every day. In yoga, they'll say just show up to your mat every day. In spiritual practices, just show up to your meditation every day. Show up to your affirmation every day. Show up for your positive thoughts every day. Show up for solutions every day. Just continuously just wake up each day with a prayer. Whatever the simple, subtle shifts that we take each day are, it doesn't matter. It's just that we commit to them. That message is something so beautiful that I'm so grateful you've brought home for us, because you are a shining, bright, angelic presence right now that is the result of your commitment. Totally. We're friends right now. Okay. So first of all, congratulations on your recovery. Really big. You sound like me when I was 27. I was like newly sober. I was like doing it all, like into this, into that, into this, into that. And just like Deepak said to me, do whatever it takes to get closer to consciousness, right? That's our message today. But you have mentioned now in this one question, 4 of the most sort of mind-blowing spiritual practices, right? Doing a 4th step in the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, judgment detox, right? Emotional freedom technique, and A Course in Miracles. So there's nothing wrong with dabbling and learning things and dipping in here and there, but all 4 of those things can coexist, but maybe at different times, right? You can have it all, but not necessarily all at the same time, because it might feel disjointed. It might feel too heavy. It might not feel like you can get the most out of that one thing. My advice to you is finish your 4th step. There you go. That's why you're like, where else can I find some help? I don't want to find it. I don't want to do this. Well, listen, I don't doubt for a second that you're meant to study the course at all. I don't doubt that for a second. I think that you absolutely should. I think you should follow books like A Return to Love by Marianne Williamson and use those messages before you read the course so that you can get the cliff notes before. That's what Marianne did with A Return to Love. But, I want you to put it all down, call your sponsor, finish your 4th step. Even if you just bang out like 5 fears, whatever you can do. Because what happens is if you're living in this step that is incomplete, you're going to feel whacked out. And that's okay, because sometimes we have to live in the in-between because it can take a while to get the step done. But there's something powerful about just ripping off the Band-Aid and diving into that step work, completing it to the best of your ability at this time. Because I think you're feeling drawn here, drawn there, drawn here, drawn there, because it's really scary to face those steps. But you have a foundation, you have a community, you have a sponsor, and you have a process. So I want you to finish it. In order to help others, you have to help yourself first. That doesn't mean that you can't be doing the work that you do while you're still on your spiritual personal growth journey, because most likely we'll be on this journey for the rest of our lives. But we always have to be making our personal growth work our highest priority. Because if like I said, anything we put before our sobriety will lose. Anything we put before our spiritual foundation will lose. So if you find yourself just dipping into these holes all the time and digging yourself out, that may just be the nature of where you're at in your recovery at this time. You're only a few years clean and sober. You haven't finished a 4th step. You're a baby in sobriety, right? I want you to be very clear. I am in no way taking away all the hard work that you have done to get here. Okay. But you're also new in it. Even though we can say, I always used to hate that when I'd be like 3 or 4 years sober, people like, oh, you're so new in sobriety. I'd be like, fuck you. but but it's true. You're a baby in sobriety, right? So you're 27 and you're just touching on some. I don't think my real sober healing work happened until like last year, and I'm 15 years clean, right? So it doesn't mean that it wasn't real before and it needed everything to get to the next step, but we need all the different levels of recovery to lead to the next one, to lead to the next one, to lead. So don't try to fast track it. So right now, if you find yourself needing to spend the day in and just really clean up your own energy and all that, then that's what you need right now. And you got to do that, especially if you're commingling your energy with others. Because if you don't show up clean, then you are not supporting them. So that's very, very important at this time. The other bit here is I really appreciate you because you are really eager to feel good and you're in the pursuit of getting better every day and you're showing up and you're devoted and you're committed and you're eager and you're a spirit junkie. And it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. All right, my friends. We wrap up this show today with our card, with our message. I do whatever it takes to get closer to consciousness. We are living in a time where it is required of us to have a grounded, thoughtful, spiritual foundation. Whatever that means to you, whatever that means to you. When we make our highest priority to be steady, be grounded, be in the center of that spiritual relationship of our own understanding, that is when we are shown where to go, what to do, what to say. That is when the universe has our back. That is when inspiration moves through us. That is when we have the energy to do things that are far beyond our imagination. That is when we have words when we thought we were unable to speak. That is when we feel that source of love move through us to heal any judgment with compassion, to heal any grievance with love, to heal any problem with a spiritual solution. We all have the capacity to live in that way. And it really is a direct reflection of our spiritual condition. So do whatever it takes to get closer to consciousness, and you will be shown what to do. You will be shown where to go. You'll be shown what to say. You'll be shown how to show up. So take that in, take a deep breath right now, breathe into what that means to you, breathe into what that means to you, breathe into what that means to you, and take that in completely. Allow yourself to ground in the message of today, that all I have to do is get closer to consciousness. That's all I have to do. I don't have to figure out all the details. I don't have to do all the to-do lists. I don't have to strike everything off. I just have to stay in my center. That's how we do this. That's how we carry through this. That's how we make it through this. That's how we survive this difficult time. That's how we are guided and gifted what we need. And that is what is of the highest good for the world. That's how we show up and contribute, is when we live and lead from a place of alignment. If you like this video and you want to get more Gabby, check out the next one right over here.